It's official, activists have taken over the Metroid series, and I think this is what we expected to happen. We heard the release of Metroid Prime 4, and now we're getting confirmation with the recruitment of many activists on the developer that's actually producing Metroid Prime 4. I'm talking about Mercury Steam. The developer is recruiting mostly activist protesters to actually be the devs for this game, to consult on the game, and overall create the vision of the game. This is kind of an astonishing thing that we've been seeing all throughout the creative process with a lot of entities that are connected to Nintendo and a lot of Japanese companies where they're reaching out to these activist organizations to produce content for them. And that's the same thing that we're hearing from Mercury Steam, famous Spanish developer that is working on Metroid Prime 4, the most hotly anticipated game for the Nintendo Switch. And I think this is the thing that people were fearing about when it concerns a lot of the female characters in gaming for the past few years, especially some of the Prime characters like Samus and Lara Croft of Tomb Raider. We saw Lara Croft destroyed through the past decade or so through the games and of course the Netflix animation that mostly tarnished her entire legacy. And I think that's what people wanted to avoid with Metroid Prime, but that's not what we're gonna get. We're gonna get the same standard things we saw with Lara Croft applied to Metroid, and I think that's the thing people are anticipating with a development team that is extremely against our favorite suit, the Zero Suit Samus that we all love. And I think that's the thing that we're hearing with some of the comments from the developers that are working on the current Metroid Prime 4, where they have an antagonizing position against Samus in general and her face and her overall look and appeal. So I think we can look at some of the facts that are kind of appearing about this game, and we can realize that Metroid Prime 4 may not be the game that we wanted because the developers don't like Metroid at all. I think that's the thing people are frustrated with, because we're trying to see a new Metroid game with these updated graphics, but we have developers that are not concerned with that. And when we look at some of the information that is kind of floating around this game, it makes us apprehensive about the content of the game. This is coming from a post on Twitter X from Mango Lawyer, who goes over some information about the Mercury Steam team that is working on this game. They worked on previous games, Castlevania, Lords of Shadow, Metroid Dread, and lately has been recruiting far left developers to work on its team for plans for new games around the Metroid Prime franchises, which includes Metroid Prime 4. And the popular person that they actually picked out is in line with a lot of the elements that we saw with the Gamergate movement. This is a person that is dubbed Anita Sarkeesian 2.0 in Spanish form. Her name is Blizzy. She's an activist backed by several nonprofit organizations and of course LGBTQ organizations that has an antagonism against anything that has a revealing, provocative outfits for a lot of female characters, and the overall general disposition that she doesn't like seeing female characters presented in any way that is attractive to the male gaze. And I think this is the thing that we're seeing all throughout the gaming industry, which was never really a focal point for gamers at all, but has become a focal point for non-gamers that want to influence and change the industry within. That's why we have this person who's an actor in this way, where their main goal, even through their channel, is to reduce the overall objectification and looks of a lot of the female characters in gaming. They don't necessarily even play games, they just want to change games. And I think this is the agent of change we've been seeing all throughout the gaming industry from non-gamers that feel like there's a political power in gaming and they have to invade the gaming space, change it in all its elements. And it's not only limited in America. This seems to be spreading out from each country in different languages. We saw this happening in Korea with Stellar Blade, where we had activists trying to shut down the overall game's look and design until they were fired. We see this in Ubisoft. We see this in Japan with elements trying to change the characterizations of a lot of the characters in Nintendo, in Capcom, in Tekken, in Street Fighter. We see all this elements kind of coalescing around the world with the same messaging, trying to change the gaming industry into an industry that's focused on political activism. And it just kind of shows the power of gaming that a lot of people feel that gamers do have. And I think that is a plus in a way, where people think gamers are so valuable they have to change the entire makeup of the game because they feel like it's that powerful, and they're going after gamers in such a way where we're gonna actually miss out on a lot of great content in the next few years. And I think this is the thing I'm seeing with Metroid Prime 4, where I want to see a highly digitized version of the Zero Suit Samus, and we're not gonna get that anymore because we have activists that are working in opposition of these ideals and the overall appeal of what gamers actually want to see in games. We have non-gamers actively destroying the games that we want. And I think this is the thing that we're seeing with this Blizzy person who has been recruited to work on Metroid Prime 4. This is what the rumors are saying. This is what is being suggested online, and maybe the rumors are wrong. I'm hoping that the rumors are wrong, but this is an organization that has been affiliated with a lot of these activist organizations, much in line with Sweetbaby Inc., where they're focused on politicizing the gaming space. And I see this happening with Metroid and a lot of games that have been produced for the past few years. So I'm thinking this is going to be another byproduct of that, and it's going to be a byproduct in the Spanish kind, because Mercury Steam is a Spanish developer who has been allocated the resources by Nintendo to produce this game, and it seems like they're producing more Metroid content in the same way. And maybe this won't have too much influence because Nintendo itself has to approve everything before it's released, so we're not going to get anything crazy content. We heard other people want to make Samus into an LGBTQ icon. There were rumors about that. The writer for that was hired by this developer as well, so we have elements there where a writer wants to make this character LGBTQ icon. That seems to be the standard trope now. When you have a famous strong woman, she has to be an LGBTQ icon, and this is kind of the annoying trope a lot of gamers have, especially seeing it happen with Lara Croft. Now we're going to see it happen with Samus. It's kind of going in line with this typical ideology that seems to want to disempower women that are feminine in any way and empower women that are non-feminine in every way. And I think this is a situation we're seeing here in the gaming industry, where all these elements for a lot of the characters are being stripped away and replaced with these androgynous elements that are just not in the liking of gamers, but are more in liking to the political progressive philosophies of the activists that are being put in charge of these organizations and developer teams. They're giving, or at least giving, some sort of effect on the games that are being produced. And I think that's the thing that we see with Sweetbaby Inc. that a lot of gamers hate, where we're getting content that we just don't like being produced by these people that are fear baiting and race baiting these companies into following their progressive philosophies. And I think that is the thing that is leading to this overall trend all across the world. And of course, I think this trend has backers that are worth trillions of dollars. I'm talking about BlackRock, of course, which is the biggest financial backer for a lot of these ideals. And it's probably safe to say that they're probably backing the Spanish development team in such a way where it's even getting government funding to support it. So you have all these elements where the government is supporting this ideology, you have giant investors supporting this ideology, even to the detriment of these companies where they're failing, but they're still succeeding because they're getting so much free money to continue this ideological trend. And it just makes you think, why is this ideology so important to these factions? And it kind of goes in line with what we're seeing socially occur within society, where this trend is being pushed on to the masses and maybe is being forced on the gamers because they're the hardest to reach. But that's just my thoughts and theories on the situation. I may be wrong, but of course, us gamers, we're just trying to see something beautiful, something cool, unique, and something harkening back to the things that we saw when we were a child that we actually loved. And I think that's what we expect from a lot of these Japanese foreign games. But even these companies are being invaded by this political ideology that is forcing itself into the gaming space, even with all the pushback. Hopefully this is not the case with Metroid Prime 4, but it feels like it has all the elements. You have consultancy firms, you have people that are fighting in this ideological battle, getting high level positions with these developers. We have writers that are wanting to change the characters to fit their personal ideology, and you have non-gamers running the gaming industry into the ground. And it's just not the MBAs and business majors doing it anymore. It's the political activists and the overall socialist Marxist thinker that is doing it as well. And it's kind of a shocking twist to have business minds and socialists, Marxist activists take over the gaming industry to destroy it. And not only the gaming industry, all industries. But this is just my personal thoughts. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, and hopefully none of this happens, but who knows? You leave your thoughts, tell me what you think. Do you think Metroid Prime 4 is compromised? I think it's a high possibility, but maybe I'm wrong. You leave your comments, tell me what you think. Like, comment, share, subscribe. This is Wagner Knows Why. Catch you next time.